Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports NFL writer, this hour on the show. The big three still to come. We've got Phillies tonight. The lineup is scrolling at the bottom of the screen if you're watching on the X platform at 973 ESPN. Use the hashtag SBLive to see Jeff Kerr, NFL extraordinaire, over at CBS Sports as he joins us now. A little preview look at the OTAs and everything that's happening around the NFL. Jeff, busy day in the NFL. A lot of wide receivers getting that money, but not Devontae Smith. Joe Banner going off on Twitter saying, man, bad representation for Devontae Smith, but Justin Jefferson, he gets the bag. What's happening with these receivers, man, as we get ready for a week of OTAs?
Give Howie Roseman credit and give A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith credit for agreeing to get deals done. And look, I'm sure Devonta Smith is probably like you and me, Mike. You get offered $25 million a year. I don't think it matters if it's 25 or 35 million. I'm pretty sure we're taking it, right?
I'm in. Who's making me that offer? Give it to me now.
Yeah, give it to me. 973 ESPN, you want to give it to me? I'll come over.
I don't think that's happening anytime soon, but I digress. Here we go. But I mean, obviously the Eagles, it's another feather in Howie Roseman's cap to go out and identify these guys ahead of time. You just hope, like, Joe Banner, when he was in charge, he would identify these guys early, and then they end up holding out because they got them at much undervalued deals. You hope that doesn't happen with these two guys, but obviously Justin Jefferson got paid today.
Yeah, he did. And look, I think a lot of receivers were waiting for this deal to go, right? It was always CeeDee Lamb's waiting, Jamar Chase is waiting, because they wanted to see what the barometer was. And the barometer was always going to be Justin Jefferson. It's what will Justin Jefferson make? And now that he's the highest paid non-quarterback ever. He's making $35 million per season, over $100 million guaranteed. What was the official amount, Mike? Was it 110?
110 guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. So there's your barometer now. Now, I mean, look, Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb are good players. They should not make more than Justin Jefferson, but at least they have something they can start with. I mean, A.J. Brown making $33 million a year was all well and good, $84 million guaranteed, but Justin Jefferson was always going to eclipse that.
It's a wild situation, too, considering the quarterback situation there. You obviously wonder what J.J. McCarthy or Sam Darnold are going to be throwing to $110 million, even bigger than that. He got $110 million guaranteed. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports. What's this mean in your mind for CeeDee Lamb in that situation in Dallas?
I tweeted about that today. I'm like, what are the Cowboys doing here? They're basically going to make Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback in football if they decide to pay him, and CeeDee Lamb the highest paid wide receiver in football. And I just don't think that's good business. Like, you should have tried to sign CeeDee Lamb earlier. You should have tried to sign Dak Prescott earlier. And look, I'm happy for Dak Prescott. The guy's going to get his bag, whether it's from the Cowboys or whoever. But hey, you're him and CeeDee Lamb. You're probably just laughing right now that someone's going to pay them. And by the way, they also have to pay Micah Parsons. And I didn't want to explain this to people on Twitter, but there is no – Micah Parsons is the Justin Jefferson, right? He's setting the market. So you got nothing to compare it to. Dak Prescott, you had something to compare to. He should not be making as much as Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. He shouldn't be making as much as Patrick Mahomes. But he's going to make more because that's just what the market dictates. Yeah. And the Cowboys are – and cap hell because of this.
Hey, listen, we say this all the time. Dallas drafts well. They manage their roster very poorly. They do a good job in finding talent out of the draft. They do a terrible job of figuring out when to sign them, who to. I think that's one of the things that the Eagles do very well is identifying guys early. Jordan Mailata, like they took a real shot with signing Mailata to that deal. Like you didn't know that he was going to be this level of player. It looked like it. But they identify him early. They get that stuff done. The Cowboys, that's their problem is they just put themselves in terrible situations because they're poorly run on that side of the front office.
Yeah, if I was the Cowboys after the year CeeDee Lamb had, you'd be like, okay, I know this guy's a player. Let's try to get him signed for $30 million a year now because that deal's going to look great come next offseason, right?
Yeah.
But they decide not to do that. And now CeeDee Lamb could make $35 million a year because CeeDee Lamb could go to them and say, oh, hold on a second. I had better numbers than Justin Jefferson last year. You guys can't win without me. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say, let's take a look at some of the questions inside you have over at CBSSports.com. It's a good piece by Jeff Kerr. You can check it out at CBSSports.com. Let's stay with this Cowboys team since we're there. The CeeDee Lamb thing, we'll see what happens there. But what's going to happen with Dak Prescott? Are we seeing the beginning of the end of this possibly being Prescott's last year there? They did make the trade for Trey Lance last year.
They keep saying they're all in on Dak, and Jerry Jones keeps saying he wants to pay him. So I guess Jerry Jones wants to pay Dak Prescott $60 million a year, and it's going to be the opposite of what Dak Prescott has had before, meaning he's going to get paid a lot of money, but he's not going to have the talent around him, which I think is a terrible way to run the franchise, personally. I mean, even though Dak Prescott could do it, it's the guy has had talent and couldn't get past the divisional round. Now you're going to give him less talent and give him more of a reason to fail in the postseason. I mean, think about this, Mike. If Dallas loses in the wild card round again, can you really justify paying Dak Prescott $60 million a year?
No, you can't. I mean, but you put yourself in a situation where it's like, if not him, then who? Are we ready to turn it over to a Trey Lance, an unproven guy?
And that's the thing. There are tons of teams that will gladly pay Dak Prescott, just like there was a team who would gladly pay Kirk Cousins this all. Oh, by the way, Dak's only 31. It's not like he's old.
No, listen, I think Dak's a very good quarterback. In fact, C.J. Stroud, I don't know if you saw this today, he had Jalen Hurts 5th. He had Dak Prescott 4th. I mean, so he's well regarded around
and there's nothing wrong with that either.
No. So that's what's happening with that whole situation there. They've been poorly put together monetarily, and it puts them in a tough spot. Let's go down to the Giants. Daniel Jones, are we looking at possibly his final season? Do they have enough there to make his contract worth it?
Yeah, and you know what, Mike? I wanted to do a little bit of outside-the-box thinking, because I think this is going to be Daniel Jones' last year, but I thought it was too easy to go, is this it for Daniel Jones? How about, can the Giants give this guy enough weapons to succeed? Because it seems like this is the best wide receiver core Daniel Jones has ever had, if you add in an actual number one in Malik Neighbors. And, Wan'Dale Robinson, okay, he hasn't really shown anything yet, but Jalen Hyatt showed some flashes. Darius Slayton's a solid player. You signed Allen Robinson for depth. Look, I kind of like what they have done this offseason. But the problem is the quarterback. You're paying the quarterback a lot of money to basically only throw 15 touchdown passes a year. You got to remember that. Daniel Jones' best season, Jalen Hurts ran for more touchdowns than Daniel Jones threw. Mm-hmm. So I look at it as, can this guy give you a 95 passer rating and 20 touchdowns so he can at least employ himself to other teams? Because if he can't, he's going to be a backup the rest of his career.
Right. Yeah, I find that Giant situation to be interesting here to see if because Daniel Jones, I mean, listen, blank canvas for him, he really hasn't been given the weapons. So can he perform if given the weapons? I think we haven't been able to, and their offensive line's been a disaster there.
Yeah. I always tell people this, as much as I like to get on Daniel Jones, I like to get on the Giants more for paying Daniel Jones. I don't think Daniel Jones is the worst quarterback in the NFL. I just don't think he's good.
I would agree. Like, if you asked me, hey, if he had weapons, would he be on that next level? I don't know about that. He did get them to the playoffs with very little. I know they relied a lot on Barkley that year. But hey, we'll see as he has. What player is Neighbors going to be? What will Neighbors do for that offense is the question.
I think Neighbors is going to be a stud. I mean, I thought that was the right pick. Instead of reaching for a quarterback, go get the best player on the board. And I know they like Joe Alt, and I think Joe Alt would have been a great pick for them. But when Malik Neighbors is there, they're like, you know what? Let's give this guy a chance, and whoever's going to be our next quarterback a chance by getting this guy in here. And you know what? Someone's life is going to be a lot easier with Malik Neighbors on that team.
Eagles OTA start tomorrow. We're going to get into some Eagles stuff. We're looking at the biggest questions for all the NFC East teams with Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports, their NFL writer. The question for Washington. Here's my question. I'm going to spin it further to your question that you wrote at CBS Sports about Jalen Daniels. Can he be the C.J. Stroud of last year? A guy, that's a team, that Houston team, nobody envisioned what they were going to do. Can Washington be this year's Houston?
I like what Washington did. I just think they had to make so many moves in order for it to happen. But as we saw with C.J. Stroud last year, C.J. Stroud masked a lot of issues on that Houston team, and so did DeMeco Ryans because he's a really good defensive coach, and he kind of fixed up that defense. Can Dan Quinn do the same in Washington? And based on his track record, I'd like to say yes. With the guys he signed, again, I like how he brought in like guys like Dorrance Armstrong and Frankie Livu and guys like that. I like what he's done. But the key to all this is, are they going to let Jaden Daniels be Jaden Daniels, or are they going to hone him back? And what I mean hone him back is Cliff Kingsbury and Brian Johnson going to make this guy throw, or are they going to say, you know what, just take off at your own will, and we don't care if you suffer injuries like Anthony Richardson did his rookie year. So if they let this guy loose, I think the Commanders could be a threat to win 8-9 games based on the weapons they have. I don't think their offensive line's that great, but with Jaden Daniels, I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah. Well, Hoskins. Hoskins. I'm looking at a picture of Reese Hoskins. I'm looking at a picture of Reese Hoskins here. The fact that C.J. Stroud was the second guy last year. Young went first. Daniels is the second guy this year. Can he be the guy that takes Washington and makes them a team that nobody saw? Houston. I don't think anybody had them winning more than 5 games last year.
I had them winning 6, and I thought I was too optimistic.
Exactly.
And they won 10. I think it was 10. They went to the divisional round of the playoffs, and they gave Baltimore, Baltimore beat them good, but they gave Baltimore a game.
They went from a team last year that no expectations to now people think they have a top 10 roster in the league. It's amazing how fast things kind of move here. So let's bring it here to the Eagles, who will have OTAs tomorrow. Let's start with the question you asked over at CBSSports.com as the biggest burning question with them. And I think you're right. I mean, is James Bradberry, is he going to show up this week?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out tomorrow, right? We'll see if James Bradberry's here. And even if James Bradberry comes, is he any good to them if he's not a starter?
Well, that's the whole, there's so many peels of the onion on this question. All right, will he show up tomorrow? It's mandatory. If he doesn't show up, then he can get fined. Do the Eagles want him to show up?
I don't think they do.
Wow. All right.
I would like him there, but yeah, you're right. Do they want him to show up? And if they don't want him there, why don't you just release him and help James Bradberry out so he can get a job? Someone will sign him. Remember the Giants cut him in May and the Eagles pounced on it. I've been saying this all season. There's no way James Bradberry can be as bad as he was last year, especially with Vic Fangio as his defensive coordinator. The problem is, do you want to start Quinyon Mitchell week 1, or do you want to develop Quinyon Mitchell? Do you want to develop Cooper DeJean? Do you want to play Kelee Ringo? Do you want to play Isaiah Rodgers?
They have so many guys in that secondary room that they can make a case of, hey, I don't need James Bradberry here. But I wonder if Vic Fangio says, look, I run zone. He fits my scheme. He played very well for John. I know John's system is similar to mine. I want him in my camp. I want him here. That to me is intriguing.
Yeah, and this is why I would say you keep James Bradberry. I think I would keep James Bradberry for this year, see what he does, and then you make the long-term decision on him after the season. You know what? If he starts the year and doesn't play well, then you bench him, right? Well, what's the difference? You're paying him anyway, so you got to pay a dead cap. You're still spreading it out over 2 years. It's post-June 1st, so again, I would just keep him. Look, if he's on the bench, he's on the bench. And everybody goes, well, you take a roster spot away. Okay, well, let's let camp play out before we can determine that.
Right. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports. Some other things. The Eagles signed a right guard today who has playoff starting experience with the Cincinnati Bengals. Give me how you see that signing and what it means.
Actually, he has playoff starting experience with the Houston Texans.
Who's that? The guard that they signed today?
Yeah, remember he started against Kansas City remember the game where the Texans went up 24-0 and Kansas City just put up 51 on them?
Yes.
I was watching that game last week, and he was starting. I think he was starting right guard.
Max Sharping, by the way, is the player we're talking about.
Yeah, Max Sharp. I mean, look.
But he started with the Bengals. He played in the playoffs with the Bengals 2 years ago.
Yeah, he did. I just wanted to add he played with the Texans too.
Gotcha. So, all right.
But yeah. But anyway, Sharping to me, that's a good depth move because that's basically what he was the last 2 years with the Bengals. And look, he's gonna have an opportunity to make this football team. Is he going to challenge Tyler Steen? I don't know. I think Matt Hennessy has more of a fight for that, but I think they need more guard depth behind Tyler Steen and Landon Dickerson. I think that's what this move is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talked about this with Mosher during Football at 4 today. It reminds me a little bit, the Eagles in 2017 had Sayamala. He was the draft pick, the third-round guy, right? He ends up not, he gets hurt. They go to Max Gene Gillis, who was a first-round pick. Not Max Gene Gillis. I said that earlier today. Chance Warmack.
Yeah, Chance Warmack.
And he did not perform. And then they said, you know what? We have Old Faithful Wisniewski just kind of waiting in the wings. It feels similar that they have, hey, we could try this guy first because he's the third-round pick. Oh, we can go to this guy next because he was a high draft pick. And then we got Old Faithful Matt Hennessy just kind of waiting in the wings if we need him.
It's crazy, too, like with the Sayamala thing, because Sayamala ended up having a good career with the Eagles. He just wasn't ready in 2017 after having a surprising rookie season where he was kind of forced to play and forced to play all those positions. And I remember saying, I think it was at the Chiefs game, like, you know what, just get Stefan Wisniewski in there. Don't ruin this kid's confidence. Like, this kid's more for the long term, and you can figure it out later. And like you said, Sayamala got hurt, and that problem kind of went away. But you're right. Yeah, it does feel like the whole, okay, we got a guy in here that if anybody gets hurt, we can plug and play.
Let me get some thoughts. I know you were OTAs. You wrote a lot about them. Give me some observations about things you saw last week that you now are intrigued to see this week based on what you saw last week.
I think if you and I were on this show last Monday, I would have said probably Isaiah Rodgers isn't going to be on this football team. I think Isaiah Rodgers might be better than what a lot of us gave him credit for. And I think it's kudos to him for staying on an NFL routine. And now he had a good practice last week. And now you're thinking, okay, maybe this guy is in the mix here. Well, if he's in the mix, who's out? They're not getting rid of Kaylee Ringo. Josh Jobe's a good special teams guy. Eli Ricks, you have to wonder where you're going to draw the line here. James Bradbury, maybe the problem's solved already. It's James Bradbury. So that's what I'm wondering how Isaiah Rodgers is going to fit into the equation here. What he does, can he play his way on the second team? Because I don't think he has much of a special teamer. And look, I'll give credit to Isaiah Rodgers here. He said he's willing to play the slot. I'm curious to see if the Eagles will play him there. Avonte Max, they've been playing at safety. Vic Fangio's had him there. He's had him in the slot. Feels like there's room for Avonte Maddox on this team somewhere. I'm obviously curious to see Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, a lot of secondary, but also linebackers. So I thought it was interesting. Zach Bond has been getting reps with the first team. Vic Fangio wasn't BSing on us with that.
John Ross, you wrote about him. Is this just a nice story or a legitimate possibility?
I think right now it's a legitimate possibility because there isn't anybody, right? So you got AJ, you got Devonta. I think Paris Campbell's going to be ultimately the three, the guy in the slot. But then who's it going to be? I mean, you have Johnny Wilson, but he's a rookie. You have Anaya Smith, who, again, I think he's going to make the team too. But you got to remember, Johnny Wilson's a 6th-round pick. So maybe John Ross plays his way in there. His goal is basically make sure he doesn't have to take a plane ride home. And I think that's enough motivation for him. I think maybe right now until the Eagles sign somebody, I think John Ross got a shot.
All right, that'll be interesting. He had an interesting story. I know he said that he knew the second he retired, basically, that he made the wrong decision. So you wonder why he just didn't unretire right there on the spot,
Yeah. Do you think it just didn't work out in Kansas City?
He's an interesting story. I mean, his speed is what got him drafted in the top 10, and he was just never productive, right? I mean, just never. But if you're going to be productive, you would think that Andy Reid would have figured out something for him, don't you?
Yeah, you would think, right? By the way, Mike, I got to refresh myself here. Was he the pick right before Patrick Mahomes?
It's a good question.
If he was 9, yes. I can't remember if he was 7 or 9.
He was the 9th pick. John Ross was the 9th pick in the what year was that?
2017.
The 2017 draft. Yes. Yes.
It was funny because it was brought up that he was in Philly, and I don't think he wanted to remember that day.
John Ross was the 9th pick. Patrick Mahomes was the 10th pick. Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, Christian McCaffrey went 8. He went to a Pro Bowl. Mahomes, Pro Bowl. Latimer, a Pro Bowl. Watson, a Pro Bowl. Reddick, a Pro Bowl. The only guy who has not was John Ross, and then the next pick that wasn't was Derek Barnett.
But Derek Barnett did recover a fumble in the Super Bowl.
He did do that. So there you go. Yes, John Ross was the 8th pick. Patrick Mahomes was the very next pick at number 9. Good job out of you picking that out there, Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports. Make sure you check out his burning questions for all the NFC East teams over at CBSSports.com. He has a lot of stuff if you want to go back and read what happened at the OTAs that happened last week. And then, of course, tomorrow, the mandatories begin. 3 days of mandatories. We'll see what happens, who shows up, who doesn't, and that will all be with Jeff Kerr. That's Jeff Kerr. You going down there tomorrow?
I will be down there. By the way, Mike, we have not had mandatory minicamp since 2019.
Yes, indeed. All right, Jeff Kerr. Well, I'm going to London, so I'm going to Phil's London this weekend. So,
are you going to cover it, or are you just going as a spectator?
If they need me to call in or do something, I'll be available. But I'm on a 6-hour lap, so I'm going as a spectator for the most part.
Yeah, where are you sitting at?
You know what? I don't know yet. Because I'm going with the Philly Sports Trips guys. So
that's awesome, though. I mean, that's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've never been to London before, so we're kind of making it a little elongated. I'm leaving Wednesday. We're going to the game, I think, on Sunday, and then I'll be back here with a recap on Tuesday.
Yeah. So, is this your first time leaving the country?
Leaving the country? No. I've been out of the country, but never been to London.
Okay, yeah. I always said if I was forced to leave the country and you had to pick anywhere, London would be the spot.
I've been wanting to go to London after being in Dublin and Croatia and Paris and Rome in the last couple of years. London is something that I've wanted to check out. I just enjoyed those places so much. I really enjoyed Dublin for the day. I don't know that my liver couldn't handle a week in Dublin, but I would imagine London is going to be similar.
I heard Croatia's beautiful, though.
Oh, I had a great time in Croatia. We did a cruise. It was fantastic. But all right, buddy. Well, it's good to catch up with you. I know your schedule's a little crazy right now, but it's good to catch you up before I got out of here.
Yeah, I'm doing double duty in the next 2 days, Eagles and Phillies, so it should be a lot of fun.
Good game to do it, Bryce. Reese Hoskins back at the ballpark tonight, and of course Jeff Kerr. You can check him out at Jeff Kerr CBS. Thanks, buddy.
Yep, sounds great. Thanks, Mike.
You make sure you check out Jeff, as always. Does a great job over at CBSSports.com. And, of course, he's always kind enough to jump on when he's available on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. When we